Hey guys, it's Julesy. I don't know if by time we get this up, if it's still February, but I think for 2021 we actually deserve an extension of Black History Month. So happy Black History Month. I hope everyone is staying, fly and as moisturized as possible within the means of this pandemic. Woo! It's been a wild year. And it's only been 2 months. Oh my gosh. I've been in the house struggling. To be honest, it's very hard for me to focus. I've been doing a lot of work for my SBG book club, which I hope you absolutely join because of one of the blessings in my life is that book club. We've been creating a community where we focus on making reading accessible. And it's really a blessing in my life to be able to run this book club, even though it's so much work. But I've been definitely reading a lot of books, listening to a lot of audiobooks because, we try to multitask, trying to do things multiple at a time. And it has been great. Multitask as in like reading multiple books is definitely a thing. I'm currently, I just got 3 credits on Audible. I'm listening to Thick by Tressie McMillan McCullum. Beloved, which I read, then wanted to go back and listen to Toni Morrison's narration because it adds an extra layer to the book. And it's our current read, our February read for the book club. And like reading Toni Morrison in high school and reading Toni Morrison as an adult within a book club community is an entirely different experience. So I promise y'all it is worth coming along to the SBG book club and joining in because we make it worthwhile and the conversations be so lit. Shout out to my mother Toni, shop SBG book club. If you want to, link in the bio. All right, let's get into this video. As I've said, I've really been in the house, struggling through focusing, but still doing a lot of work because things must go on, pandemic or not. I have been procrastinating by scrolling through social media. I have actually been like, is it called doom scrolling? Like where your like anxiety or your depression or whatever is really ticked off and like you were trying to scroll for relief, but relief never comes and you just end up with like a higher rate of like anxiety. Yeah, that's me. So a lot of time on the Instagrams, on the Twitters, follow a young thug if you care to. And so I have been peeping game about what's been popping off in the pop culture context. And I've noticed that there is a pattern within this digital landscape. Oh, but really, it's a pattern within the Black community. And I actually think this is something that I feel justified in saying that it is something inherent specifically to the Black in America community. And it is the industry of shame. It is using shame to push Black folks into buying someone's products, using shame as a tool of consumerism. Word to my mother, but really more specifically, word to the topic at hand of how we use the industry of shame or the tool of shame to push Black women into a certain function of consumerism. How I even got to that theory is through the understanding of fictive kinship and how Black people in America experience something that white people don't experience, where the accomplishments of a Black person become relevant to all Black people. So when good things happen, when Barack Obama becomes the United States president, we all kind of feel a kinship, a closeness, an identity shared. Great. When there's a news report being highlighted about a Black woman who did something bad to her children, we also all feel the weight of that. When Black people are highlighted for heinous crimes, we all feel the collective weight of that. When Timothy McVeigh drives a bomb into the Oklahoma City building, that becomes not a kinship amongst all white men in America, even though the politics that drove him to do that are politics of white malehood. No, it's seen as he is an extremist unlike any other white man. It's crazy because I was listening to the New York Times, a daily podcast today that was talking about Merrick Garland, who is up for Attorney General nomination, needs to be confirmed by the Supreme Court for this current Biden administration. And Merrick Garland was the attorney for the Department of Justice who handled the Timothy McVeigh case in the Oklahoma City bombing. Michael Barbaro is making the point that we had never seen that sort of violence. It was not normal, nor had it been seen in America prior to, 94, 95? And I'm like, baby, have you not heard of Eric Foner? Okay, historian, Reconstruction. Literally, the first chapter of this heavy-ass academic text breaks down the history of massacres and white violence perpetuated by white men in America against the Blacks. We feel it as Black women, when we are ever highlighted for whatever accomplishments, however celebratory, however dubious, we do feel a kinship, and we do perpetuated by the social institutions, right? By media, by the powers that be, that say, as a Black woman, I am represented by the actions of all Black women. I don't know, has a white person ever been told, I had this white friend and I just thought you was going to be the same way as them. The same way that, if you've ever been as a Black person to the PWI, you have definitely heard, oh, I thought you was going to be like, I thought I was going to be like Cedar from BET. And it's like, wow, I have fictive kinship with the Black woman cartoon. Fascinating stuff, I will tell you. It's particular to Black women within this industry of shame, the use of stigmatizing shame as a tool for consumerism, and just the stigmatizing shame that we broadly experience as Black women. We face higher emotional consequences for acting within this kinship, within this family of shared identity. Yes, this whole thought process around how I'm thinking of the theory of shame and Black women was spurred when I saw B. Simone go viral for shaming Black women. What was her point even? She took a very shaming tone in talking to Black women about how to partner with high-level men. And this has been an ongoing conversation. I definitely in 2019 tiptoed blindly into that sect of YouTube that's talking about high-level Black women procuring, I guess, high-level Black men from a stance of taking on Victorian ideals of beauty. And we'll get in again to that later. And then now we have B. Simone telling Black women what they are or what they ain't because she finally got a man and she wants them to buy her coloring book. Let me actually insert the clip of B. Simone talking here.
A little challenge. We got all these things we want in a man. A list of things. He got to be tall. He got to be dark. He got to be handsome. He got to have pretty teeth. He got to be a family man. He got to be financially stable. He got to be rich. He got to be successful. He got to be all these things. And we ain't even half the things on that list. He got to be a family man. You ain't talked to your mama in 6 months, but you want him to be a family man. He got to be financially stable. Your account is in the negative, ma'am. Overdraft fees. He got to have a job. You need to go fill out some applications because you're still unemployed. He got to have pretty teeth. You ain't seen a dentist in 6 years. He got to have a six-pack and be in shape. You can't even walk up a flight of stairs without huffing and puffing. Get your life together. This whole list that he got to be. You ain't even half the things on that list. So this is what I challenge you to do so we can manifest love all 2021. Make that list of that perfect dream man that you got in your mind. Then, what I did, make a list of the type of woman he would need right by his side. You want him to be in shape? You need to get to the gym. Equally yoked. You want him to be financially stable? Well, you need to start saving. Because you can't keep a dime to your name. Huh? You want him to be a family man? Call your mama. You become a family woman. Heal your traumas before you put all this shit on him. You want him to be patient. Your patience is thin. You want him to be understanding. You're the least understanding person in your circle of friends. But he got to be understanding. Fix you. Fix you. Whatever you want, become that. He got to be in shape. You eat chips every day. You heal.
Now, what B. Simone is doing, the shaming approach that she's using to push Black women into consumerism, is not a new phenomenon. This is not something unique to the approach that B. Simone is taking, which is why when this clip was posted on the Shade Room or on any gossip log, you see a bevy of blue check celebrities agreeing, and even just a bevy of Black folks in general, saying that B. Simone told no lies. There is nothing wrong with what B. Simone said. What B. Simone was doing, and why you see so many people agreeing with her, is I actually want to term it as a form of like a shame creep. Right? Because there's actually a theory called the disinformation creep. The disinformation creep is a method where you are using legitimate grievances, factual information, and just slightly distorting it just a little to loop back around to your point. And so it's like, yeah, what you saying, it's like, it's kind of right. Like, I kind of do agree with you. I kind of don't want to argue against that. But the way you land just ain't it. But the principles or theories or facts that you're supposedly using to drive that point home are inaccurate. And what B. Simone did is what she's saying inherently wrong? It's that why are we constantly talking to Black women as if Black women are the wrong thing? And that's what ties the technique that B. Simone is using into shame. And she's not the first one to do this. There is a long history of industries, of Black media industries, using shame pointed at Black women as tools of consumerism. So one of the books that I recently listened to on Audible, use my code if you ain't into it, is Melissa Harris Perry's Sister Citizen, which is a play on the Audre Lorde title. We also have Audre Lorde shirts. And shame is a big theme throughout Sister Citizen. There's actually an entire chapter focused on how shame has been used specifically targeted at Black women. And I love the point that Dr. Harris Perry makes about how Black women are born into a crooked room and then constantly told that they are wrong, not that the room is crooked. And so we are constantly trying to contour ourselves and fix ourselves to fit into a room that was never meant to support us. So as I've said previously, Black women in America are born into a society that was never built to see us as a community succeed. And so that maybe a few of us or a handful of us can feed into exceptionalism, the American version of exceptionalism, that a few of us can get success, is never going to be replicated by the whole of our community because we don't have the infrastructure. Word to Dr. Patricia Hill Collins, who also sat down with the book club. I'm telling y'all need to join, okay? I'm pulling references from things we've read as a community, who talks about the domains of power and how they are so deeply embedded into our social institutions that anytime we splinter off, no matter how pure our intentions, we ourselves as the oppressed people, as Black women, this is in chapter 12 of Black Feminist Thought, we also replicate these hierarchies of power that oppress our community. And there's another video in here that I need to do about how Black women absolutely have the ability and capability to harm other Black women. But that's another video for another day. Let's stay on topic here and talk about this shame. So what I'm trying to say is B. Simone isn't particularly unique, right? There's been a long history, and I'm a lover of history books, so we can definitely get into how the image of the welfare queen came to be. Why are Black women stigmatized as welfare queens when the welfare that we are accessing is part of the Social Security Act of 1934 that also created pensions? White people are not seen as taking from a system when they tap into their pensions that are no longer even available to millennials anymore. But Black women are welfare queens when we decide to tap into government resources that help us take care of our households and procure a slightly better quality of life. One of the points Dr. Harris Perry is making in Sister Citizen is that we go through a constant misrecognition throughout our lives. It's so constant that we become used to it. And then we employ that tactic onto other Black women. And we see this sort of rhetoric, as I stated, Black media participated in stigmatizing the welfare queen. I don't know that I want to get into a whole history lesson, but when we're talking about any of this stuff, whatever pop culture context, I really do want us to think about how close to 1864 and the emancipation of enslaved Black folks we really are. We get a brief period of Reconstruction, and then we immediately go into like a 60-year span of Jim Crow and its own sort of engendered violence. Black women were domestic workers who could not get unemployment or pensions and really couldn't even get food stamps or aid for dependent children until the late 70s, early 80s. Like, you know what I mean? That's 40, 50 years ago. Like, all this stuff is very, very close, and we constantly replicate it. And so now we live in this digital landscape of social media influencers. Or, before we even get back to B. Simone, we could take it to the Obamas. And I'm forever grateful that I got to interview Michelle Obama. But the Obamas have used the same sort of stigmatizing shame towards black folks. Why has either Obama given speeches at HBCUs and talked about all the niggas that ain't, but have never gone to PWIs and talked about all the white folk that ain't?
So you're going to have to spread the word to your fellow young people. Which brings me to the second point. Just as Morehouse has taught you to expect more of yourselves, inspire those who look up to you to expect more of themselves. We know that too many young men in our community continue to make bad choices. And I have to say, growing up, I made quite a few myself. Sometimes I wrote off my own failings as just another example of the world trying to keep a black man down. I had a tendency sometimes to make excuses for me not doing the right thing. But one of the things that all of you have learned over the last 4 years is there's no longer any room for excuses. I understand there's a common fraternity creed here at Morehouse. Excuses are tools of the incompetent used to build bridges to nowhere and monuments of nothingness. Well, we've got no time for excuses. Not because the bitter legacy of slavery and segregation have vanished entirely, they have not. Not because racism and discrimination no longer exist. We know those are still out there. It's just that in today's hyper-connected, hyper-competitive world with millions of young people from China and India and Brazil, many of whom started with a whole lot less than all of you did, all of them entering the global workforce alongside you, nobody is going to give you anything that you have not earned. Nobody cares how tough your upbringing was. Nobody cares if you suffered some discrimination.
We experience it so much that it has become a part of our language. It has become a way that we talk to each other. And you go from an Obama's, preceding them, we have a Bill Cosby giving the cookie speech to black folks, telling us how we ain't, and ignoring the systems and the infrastructures that put us in these bottleneck situations, ignoring the room in which we exist, word to Dr. Harris Perry, the crooked room that we are born into, and simply shaming the person who exists within that crooked atmosphere. Steve Harvey has made an entire brand off of shaming black women. Sold books, sold TV shows, made himself very wealthy off of stigmatizing shame towards black women. I'm already really deep into the weeds here, but I do have to acknowledge that shame can also be used towards a positive outcome. I'm talking specifically about a stigmatizing shame, about a constant misrecognition. Ooh, that's the braces. A constant misrecognition and a constant stigmatizing shame that not only says that you are wrong, but that because you have done something wrong, you have shamed the entire community. You don't even get to retreat into solace in dealing with yourself. Your actions represent the whole sum of black women. And that is such a lofty weight that I don't know that any white person feels when they make a misstep. I mean, and we all know some white girl that has gone to college, snorted a little coke, done a little E, bounced right back from the oops, got pregnant, not no more, and is now, married to a surgeon, living maybe that's just somebody I know in real life, but black girls could never, okay? We don't have these options. We do all collectively experience some sort of shame, and that's what I'm saying. Shame can be a positive or used as a tool for a positive outcome, right? There's a theory called the social contract, and there's also a second theory that builds upon the social contract called the racial contract, to say that, yes, we as citizens of the world do broadly live under a social contract where we agree to not do certain things, where we agree to be for the most part, good people. There's a shaming aspect that does motivate you to be a good person. But Black women, again, and Black folks, and this also, Black non-binary and Black queer folk, experience a particular type of stigmatizing shame that is ongoing and constant. There is no way to absolve that shame by simply throwing trash in the trash bin or by going to the voting poll. You can live your whole life by the textbook. And then if you have the nerve to still be single in your 30s, there are other people in the Black community telling you that you are worthless. We've become so used to the overuse of shame that Kevin Samuels is allowed to flourish because people justify it as entertainment. And this made me think of, as I'm listening to Beloved by Toni Morrison, there is a scene where Paul D, Setha, and Denver go to a carnival. And Morrison is illustrating this how disparate, how cheap and frivolous this carnival is. And how degrading the carnival is. It's basically, a penny carnival that allots for a Negro night on Thursdays where the Black folks can come in because they can't commingle with the white folks. This is still during the period of slavery, but these are free Black folks in Ohio. And most of the stands and highlights of the carnival are the degradation of bodily functions of other people, right? A small stature, little person, a woman that's overly hairy, where you throw a pin at a ball and dunk somebody into goo or gob. Morrison in the book is saying that Black folks have so much trauma that is piled onto them and so little moments of joy that they actually invert that trauma and find joy in getting to degrade others. That being able to pull people down, even if it's just for one Thursday night out of the year, is so much joy, and that the carnival literally stinks because it's by a bed of dead roses. There's really nothing that Morrison paints as fun outside of this, as a point of where Black folks get to gather and have a sense of community. But she really goes through the motions of describing this carnival as something to, really be disgusted by. But for Black folks, especially in the late 1800s, have so much taken from us. It's so much constant misrecognition, so much shame, that to have a little taste of power against others is enticing and it's joyful. And I think Kevin Samuels in particular replicates that. And it's very dangerous and very violent because there are people that are watching this while you think it's funny and you think it's cool to share clips and highlight it and constantly reference him and talk about him, who are using his rhetoric as a value system for other members of their community.
Well, to me, I'll give you a quick synopsis. I'm 42 years old. Last year I used to weigh 203 pounds.
None.
No, I'm not finished.
None. Yeah, you
that
are.
Was last year.
Yeah, you are.
Last year, this year I weighed 165.
No, ma'am, I said you're finished. You're finished.
I'm done?
Yep.
There's nothing left for me.
Not realistically.
Well, thank you.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Because I'm 42?
See, it's the age and the weight. And then if you have any children.
And so the way that he disposes of Black women for daring to be over 30, daring to have children, daring to want more in their lives, and a lot of the women just want to be treated kindly. And he's telling them that they're clowns. Never mind that he is couple times divorced, multiple children. Do your children live with you? Do you even have a 50-50 custody agreement? Are you fathering your children? If we're going to utilize the tool of shame, how is that shame reflected back on you? And why do you not live in the same sort of stigmatizing shame as you were trying to perpetuate on to Black women and occasionally on to other Black men? Why do we not see the sort of violence that this rhetoric perpetuates? Why are we so comfortable with it? Because we are so used to being shamed. We have across the landscape of Black media constantly heard the refrain that you are not enough because you were born in the hood. You are not enough because your mother had you at a young age. You were not enough because you didn't have the means and access until you were later in life, and you did what you could do to survive within the means that you had. That environment that you were living in previously physically wears on you. and the way we treat Black folks that don't aesthetically fit into this very small silo of acceptable beauty. We constantly shame Black folks. And I just want us to be careful when we are on social media and ingesting and sharing and amplifying this sort of message. I've talked before about how outrage is a social currency. So I understand that we are constantly going to see this sort of stigmatizing shame continue to be replicated and perpetuated and amplified in the Black digital landscape. But I just want to raise a level of consciousness that allows us to, even if it's a thought for 1 second, 2 seconds, even if you don't entirely agree with me, I want us to just be more discerning digital consumers. Because when you ingest enough of this rhetoric, it does at some point subconsciously begin to live within you. Outrage has made quite a few of the people that I have mentioned by name very famous, and also procured them their financial income. So I doubt these folks are gonna stop. But I want us to just be more thoughtful about how we consume their media, what messages are we choosing to share, and how are we sharing them. Black women are constantly misrecognized to the point that, and I've talked about this before, and I know I rile a lot of feathers when we talk about the understanding of femininity and womanhood as it is attached to Black women. Part of how white women get to enter into this understanding of femininity is, how do you even show shame on your physical being? There was a belief from Thomas Jefferson that white women are virtuous because when they are ashamed, they blush. And you can visibly see them blushing. And so therefore you could visibly see their virtue and their understanding of good and bad and how to be ladylike. But who can you broadly not see blush? Melanated women. Black, dark-skinned women do not have as visible of rosy cheeks when they blush. And literally, you know what I mean? This all connects. When I talk about how harmful Victorian standards of beauty are, part of that Victorian standard of beauty is that Black women can't even blush. So Black women don't get to be virtuous. Therefore, Black women don't get to be fragile, feminine women. And we can constantly try to fit into this crooked room that says, oh, inherently, because you are a Black woman, you are not feminine, by buying material things, by investing in material objects. We're not aware of the institutions that put us in this place. And if not enough of us are invested in dismantling these institutions, there's always going to be another way to place a stigmatizing shame on us. Thank y'all. I hope I made sense. I hope y'all enjoyed watching this video. Thank you to Audible for sponsoring. If you have not checked them out, they offer 1 month free. Use my code. We constantly talk about Audible in the book club. It is one of the best ways to get into reading, because reading isn't accessible. If you have a lot going on and you stressed and so you just trying to sleep through it all a year later with this pandemic, still trying to get through it all, audiobooks really help relieve some of that stress that comes with trying to sit down and focus on any one task. And Audible I pay for it every month. I don't get Audible for free, girl. I pay for it every month, and I listen to so many books while I'm driving. Sometimes it actually works as a stress reliever. I'll get in the car and drive. I drove to Winston-Salem to go get a Cool Wrap from Chick-fil-A that you can't get in Charlotte, and knocked out a whole audiobook on my drive there and back. And me and my homegirl were talking about that, we'll just put a book on, and I want to go eat someplace in Raleigh, which is 3 hours from here. I'll do that drive back and forth and just knock out a book and still feel productive and get to live my life and, give a little freedom when we're still kind of doing some sort of in-the-house quarantining because it's still a pandemic outside. You know what I'm saying? Audible is great. Definitely use my code. You can text Julesy to 500-500 or go to audible.com/Julesy. And if you're in the book club, we send it out in every newsletter. So if it's your first time using Audible, definitely hit them up. And thank you for their support and allowing me to get this video done. Holla at you on the other side. Deuces.